Hello everyone, my name is Michaela and welcome to this new video that is a reading/weekly update. That is the kind of content you will find the most on my channel because it is easy and a good way to summarize what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading and what I will be reading in the future. So let's start with this first reading update. The first book I finished this week is a book that I've been reading for a few months now. No, maybe not a few months, a few weeks. Definitely way more than I wanted to, but life gets busy, you know. And I finally finished book 3 in the Farseer trilogy, Assassin's Quest by Hobb. Absolutely loved this book, and it wasn't a good start. I read book 1, Assassin's Apprentice, 2 years ago. Wasn't very sold on book 1, couldn't connect with Fitz. I just couldn't get as much as I wanted from the story for some reasons. Might just be that it wasn't the best moment for me to read it. I was quite busy. I was just, not really able to fully get invested into a story. However, I read book 2 a few months ago. And book 2 was everything I wanted from book 1. Maybe I was just in a better mood. But anyway, book 2 was definitely more interesting for me plot-wise. The stakes were higher, the plot getting more complex, and the characters were also more interesting to me because they were, Fitz mainly was more mature. Even though I liked him as a child character, he was getting more personality as well, and the dynamics and the interactions with other characters were definitely more complex, more tense, and really enjoyed book 2 for all these reasons. Now book 3 was even better. Really, book 3 captured my heart, my attention, my imagination. The world building is definitely more intricate in this one. The characters, this kind of fellowship that formed, the new characters that are introduced, the personality they have were just such a good mix, and I enjoyed from beginning to end following these characters in this quest. And the ending was just sublime, and I don't know, it was just everything that I needed, and that's what makes it so good. It's just, I feel like I've read it at the good time. I was looking for a story like that, and I got it through everything that I love in the story: the character-driven plot, the writing style that is just flowery, and the story that slowly unfolds to this finale that is so good. Just book 3, amazing. Now I know I want to continue with the next series, that is the Life Ship Traders, and I might start reading it. I don't know what would be the best time, but I don't have the physical copies yet, so might purchase it during the following weeks. Still debating if I want the illustrated edition of the Farseer trilogy. I would really like to, but it's quite pricey, so might wait for Christmas. I'll definitely be continuing with the next series, hopefully soon. So the second book that I finished this week is The Lesser Devil by Christopher Ruocchio. That is the novella to read between book 1 and book 2. I really enjoy book 1, for your information, since this channel is quite new. I did enjoy book 1, not my favorite, but definitely a strong foundation for an epic story. And reading this novella is definitely a good complement to the story, but it's not that necessary to the plot. You could read it or not. It wouldn't give you more information or anything else to add to your story experience. I can give you a good example of novellas that are absolutely necessary to give you something more to the story you're currently reading, and it's the novellas in the Song of the Shattered Sands series by Bradley P. Beaulieu. These novellas, I think there are 6 of them, maybe 7 with the prequel, and each of these novellas really gives you something more that if you haven't read them, you would very miss something, and you should read them because they are not only a bonus, but definitely information that kind of gives you the other point of view, the other side of the story, and it definitely adds to the experience. Whereas this one, I think you could not read it and you would be fine. It gives you the point of view of Crispin, Yes, but from what I've heard, you would have this information anyway in book 2. So I still have to read book 2. I will confirm if that's the case. Even though Crispin's point of view is interesting, definitely more character building in this novella, the story is a bit too much focused on action, so it doesn't really explore Crispin's personality that much. He does get some like change of heart, so you kind of see him going through something and coming out of it different, but still it's a bit too much battle scenes and action-packed moments, because yes, you get more of the world, more of the characters, more of Crispin, but it doesn't really feel like it's adding something to the main story. It's just a bonus. I'm really sorry, I feel like I'm so confusing. I want to say something and I just cannot put it in English. So there's only practice. Practice gets better. Practice something better. There's a saying for that, I don't remember. But practice. Then, what am I currently reading? And this book, this series, it's amazing. I'm currently reading The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu, the second volume in the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu, the first book being The Grace of Kings. And I loved The Grace of Kings. It's not something that I would have read if it was not recommended to me, because it sounded like it was something too action-driven for me. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. This book is just wow. It's a big scope story that will take place over like decades, and you will witness the fall of an empire. And what is so fascinating about this book is that you really get to see what happens on a social level, on an economic level, on society level when an empire just declines. You will have multiple POVs and each one will give you what happens, what new power will arise from the crumbling empire, what kind of forces will be driven forward and how people will react. And as I said, it's not really a character-driven plot, and somehow it is at the same time, because you will have numerous characters and you will still get attached to them, but not like on an emotional level. It took me a while to understand how I could get so engaged with these characters, even though they are quite distant. You will not always get what they are feeling, what their emotions are, but you will still get very much invested with these characters as you would for a historical figure. And fun fact, when the Queen of England died a few days back, I understood why I love these characters so much. It's not because I'm emotionally invested with them, it's just for what they represent, for what they did, for what they are doing, for their moral, for their motivations and for their actions instead of their emotions. I don't know if it's clear or not, but it's definitely something new, and I would have never thought that I would like this book so much. Coming to book 2, I've read so far a few pages, 77 pages, and just for these few pages I would say it's even better than book 1. I mean, the characters that we are following, definitely interesting. I'm in and I just want more. I don't know if I'll be able to read this book in 1 week, but I'll do my best to just read as much as possible, because I've already started to annotate it, because also the commentary that the author makes throughout this fantasy world, I know it's a like kind of rewriting of China's empire. Not really sure about that, but just the commentaries is amazing. Like, I'm watching the news on the TV and I'm like, wow, that's exactly what's happening in this universe, in this series. I mean, book 1 and 2 so far. And it's so interesting because it's the same, it's happening now. Economy, society, politics and everything kind of translates into our world. Just like stories is repeating itself, and humans are still the same, and they just do things that are good and sometimes not good, and you can witness how this affects society, and it's so good. Anyway, not gonna talk about real world, we just want fantasy, right? So what I'm currently reading as well, which I might DNF actually, is Malice by Gwynne, the first volume in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I've been reading this for a buddy read on my Discord, and well, I'm not enjoying this story, and I've read only 100 pages because as many other books that I cannot connect with, I'm not getting involved with the characters. I'm sure it might change in the next chapters. I've heard people saying, oh, you should continue. I know it's getting better. I know the series is well appreciated amongst the readers, but I just cannot force myself to continue. I might just put it aside for a few weeks, months. Let's see if then I get some interest back, or if I'm just DNFing it. The plot sounds really good. All these artifacts, cauldron things, dark magic somehow is very interesting. The clans, the world building. But if the characters that are the vessels for the story are not developed enough, I find it so hard to continue. For example, there's one event that is kind of traumatizing for a child, I mean like teenager, and there's like one paragraph explaining what the teenager feels, and then up to the next event, no, I want more. What's the process behind him saying this kind of stuff? And no, we just jump to something else, and that just doesn't do it for me. So sorry Malice, but I am a reader that just needs to be captured right away by the story. I will not force myself reading something that I'm not enjoying, so sorry. Now, as to what I will be reading next, well, I'm a bit I don't know what I want to read really. I have plans, but I will not tell you right now what my plans are because it's mainly for October, so I'll wait for the next update. But there is a book that I'm kind of interested in picking up again, and it's book 2 in A Song of Ice and Fire by G.R.R. Martin, and it's A Clash of Kings, obviously book 2. I don't know, I've started it, you can see. I've started to read it like, I don't know now, 2 years ago, maybe a bit more. I've read book 1, really enjoyed it. I just didn't continue the series right away, and I don't really remember what I've read in these 170 pages, so I might have to start again. I even started to annotate it at the time, so I might just find a good summary of book 1. I know what happens basically, but there's so much details that I want to have in mind. I don't think I want to reread book 1, but anyway, I might just try to read a summary of Game of Thrones, and then we'll continue with book 2, because the series on HBO that is currently on air really got me like, oh, I want more Game of Thrones, and I've never read Game of Thrones, just book 1, so I want to go through the series and then read Fire and Blood. Now I'm still mixing up with the Ryan Cahill's book of Blood and Fire, I don't know, one of these titles, you know what I'm talking about. So that's it. I'm really happy to be filming this second video for my English channel. Quite a challenge, I might say. Hope it's at least comprehensible. I also hope that you understand what I want to say. Sometimes I feel like I'm just confusing, that you might not get the point. But as I said, just practice, and I guess it will be better by a few weeks, I hope so. And well, just subscribe if you want more content, just support the channel, like, comment what you are currently reading, what you've read, what you are planning to read the next few weeks. I'll be happy to discuss in the comment with you. And again, just a big thank you for the reception of my first video. I wasn't expecting so much. A big thank you for your welcomes and your support. So you can follow me on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I do stream on Twitch. I do mainly like focus with me kind of session, read with me. Sometimes I'm talking a bit more, but everything's in French. But for the read with me sessions and everything, you can totally come. I can switch to English, there's no problem. And since it's more about reading and focusing, it's more silent, so you can still come and hang around with us on Twitch. And yeah, everything is in the description below, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. See you, bye!